issue that about Adnan, and I think I just couldn't hear clearly. But
Okay,
inshallah,
so far, I made a close now in case you can mute someone if you need to.
Okay.
Article. So what I was saying, sorry if Adnan didn't hear all of that. I'll just the summary was basically that there's two types of als. One al refers to things in general, like all fajrs, the concept of fajr, and some als refer to something specific. The one that is a general al that refers to everything is called what? Ta'riful jins. And the al that refers to something specific is called ta'riful ahad. So some ulama say that the al-ya is ta'riful jins, means the fajr in general, the concept of it. But more ulama I think would say that the al-ya is ta'riful ahad, which refers to the fajr of the 10th of Dhul Hijjah, which is the day of Eid. And what's it? Ahad. Ain hadal. Ahad. Next, walayalin ashr, by 10 nights, because of the ashra. The ashra, it qualifies the 10, so it refers to specific 10 nights, and it is nakira. Why? Because of adma, because nakira gives more greatness, gives more emphasis to and more prominence to it. Some ulama yes do say that the 10 nights refers to the 10 last 10 nights of Ramadan, but the stronger opinion is going to be that the 10 nights refers to 10 nights and days of Dhul Hijjah. Dhul Hijjah. Some of the narrations, let me just see in some of the narrations. Yes. So there are some narrations. The narrations sometimes are going to basically be sometimes a bit weak, but like for example, there's a narration in al-ashra ashrul adha, that the 10 is the 10 days of Eid al-Adha. That narration itself is there's some issue with narration. So often in tafsir you'll find this: you have an opinion, you have a narration, but the narration has some issue. Or two. Yeah, so that's why we must do all our sciences, inshallah, so we can do Mustalah al-Hadith properly. But in summary, basically, we are the most strict with narrations when it comes to fiqh. Okay, so this is Aqidah. Aqidah is like a separate bab, because Aqidah is basically based on things which are mostly Quranic. Let's just say mostly Quranic for now. There's some other detail, I can't discuss all the details. But when it comes to your fiqh is we are very strict with narrations. Why? Because a narration then implies that every Muslim must do that thing for the rest of their lives. Billions of people. So we're very strict with accepting narrations. When it comes to history, tarikh, or seerah, or tafsir, we actually relax the bar, which means what? We will quote weak narrations. We'll say it's weak, but we'll quote it. Why? Because it's not going to affect your belief, number one, nor your action. It's just like your understanding. Okay, there is a narration that refers to 10 days of Adha. It's a bit weak, but it gives you just insight into the understanding. Because you're not going to, like, your aqidah is not going to change, and so on. So we're going to quote it more easily then. But you're still going to make bayan that is weak. Like they're still going to say there's a narration, but the narration is weak. No. One of the reasons there's like a contrast element between Fajr and which is the beginning of day and night, like a linguistic contrast in the two. Walayalin ashrin, and the 10 nights, referring to 10 nights and days of Dhul Hijjah. Wash-shaf'i wal-watr. So shaf'i, normally we get the translation. The translation says Shafi'i is even and watr is odd. Similar to witr. Witr, same thing. So another meaning of Shafi'i, which is very similar, is that Shafi'i is the second to something which is to something else. It is the second of something else. It is the second of something else. So if you look at what this means, there's going to be a number of opinions. But if I'm going to link it to the Hajj opinions, it's going to be two opinions. The Hajj opinion is of those 10 days, what do you think was Shafi'i is? No, it refers to something specific. No. Or it's the second, it's the second thing of the first thing. If it's 10 nights, can be 10 days. Yes. But I'm saying of the 10, what do you think actually what they mentioned refers to a specific day of the 10 days. So either the second day, the fourth day, the sixth day, the eighth day, or the 10th day. So which day do you think it is? The 10th day. Why? Because the 10 days are going to be of like the more important than the other days. And the water, which one do you think it refers to? It refers to the 9th day, which is Arafah. Meaning what? Ash-Shaf'i is referring specifically to, it's basically linked to the Fajr. The Fajr is the morning, and the Shaf'i is the same thing, it's referring to the 10th day, because the 10th day is the great ibadah day. It's a day of what? Of pelting, of tawaf, of slaughter, of cutting hair. And al-watr is the great ibadah because the watr is the and for example, here's a hadith here where Jabir says, radiallahu anhu, that the Prophet says, أن الشفع يوم النحر. This is about narration. That the shaf'a is يوم النحر. What's nahr? Slaughter. So what is the day of slaughter? 9 or 10? 10 the slaughter begins. So the narration says that أن الشفع يوم النحر ذلك لأنه عاشر ذي الحجة. That is because it's the 10th of Dhul Hijjah. So that is going to be the narration. It doesn't mention where the narration comes from. وأن وتر يوم عرفة. رواه أحمد بن حنبل والنسائي وقد تقدم آنفا. So this comes from Muslim Ahmad والنسائي. Doesn't give the sihha yet, but tells you where the evidence for that is. That's an example of when you have something which is unknown and the Prophet has a narration about it to make it known. Where Shafi'i, how authentic it is, it doesn't mention here. But I think it's actually linked to the previous narration, which I think is also has some weakness in it. So all of this will have some weakness in it, therefore there will be some ikhtilaf in it. وَالشَّفْعِ وَالْوَتْرِ. Another meaning of Shafi'i also, some ulama have mentioned, is that what happens after the 10th day? And what do you do in the last after the 10th day?
Samarat, Tarawih.
What do you do? Where do you stay? You say, I mean, how many days?
3 days.
Not necessarily 3.
2 or 3 days.
2 or 3.
2. In fact, most people actually have 2. You say the third day, you have to quietly relax. Most people are gone. So what some ulama says that the Shafi'i here refers to the 2 days, and the water refers to the 3 days. As if Allah mentioned the 10 days, then Allah mentioned the completion of that, which is the 2 or the 3 days. There's another opinion that's going to. These opinions are all going to be like opinions. No, because when the narration is weak, it's very hard to say like definitively it means this. You can say someone said it, but someone said it is an appeal to authority. And if the appeal to authority isn't the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, then you're not going to get to say we say this is strong and that's weak. No. No. Yeah, mutashrik, no. So Shafi'i, watr. Some other opinions outside that. For example, there's another narration, and the narration comes in Tirmidhi. It's also weak. The narration says, "Ash-shaf'u wal-watru as-salatu minha shaf'un wa minha watrun." It refers to salah, because in salah you have shaf'un, which is what? Fajr, Dhuhr, Asr, and Isha, and you have watrun, which is Maghrib. That narration is also weak. So it doesn't. That's in Tirmidhi, but the narration is weak. No, it says here that what happens is that the narration is mawquf. Mawquf means it's when a Sahabi narrates something, but then people mistakenly attribute it to the Prophet ﷺ, but actually attributed to Sahaba. So it means it becomes a qawl of a Sahaba, Imran ibn Hussein, but then people attribute the Prophet ﷺ, but actually more correctly his statement. So you can see therefore, because it becomes a statement of a Sahabi, it becomes less, because one Sahabi this, one, you know what I mean, it becomes ijtihadi. So therefore, this is the nature of tafsir. The nature of tafsir is that the Quran often allows for multiple understandings and multiple meanings, depending whether you're looking at the narration, you're looking at the context, and so on. I generally personally read the Quran. I generally give more favor, and this is a personal thing, I give more favor to a contextually harmonious reading. What I mean by that is that if I had to choose, for example, what I find strong, does it refer to Salah? Or does it refer to Hajj? For me, it more refers to Hajj because others refer to Hajj. Meaning what? It's like, it's part of the harmony of the Quran. So, but that's going to be a personal, but I can't deny that there is narration. So I could say that's also a possibility. But you can have a personal preference also when it comes to tafsir. That's why I give you multiple interpretations about it. I mean, a strong argument, maybe perhaps why I wouldn't agree with Shafi wal Watr, is that this surah is likely, I must check whether the date of the surah is. But if this surah was revealed before Mi'raj, it would be strange to refer to, not impossible, but it would be strange to refer to Salah that hasn't been revealed yet. You with me? Because only coming to Mi'raj, whereas Hajj is known to the Arabs. Hajj is part of their practice. Hajj and as part of Muzdalifah was part of their practice. This is part of their practice because it's Abrahamic. It's from Ibrahim alayhi salam. So it's all going to be pre-Hijrah. So those are the kind of discussions that you have with regard to it. Now. It's unclear to us, not to Allah, but unclear to us. Yes. Alif Lam Mim. It's part of, it's part of the idea that if, in a sense, you didn't have to struggle to understand the text, you'd stop studying it. You with me? Like if a text is so simple that no one debates it, and there's no unclarity, and there's nothing to think about, then would you write about it for 1,000 years? You with me? So the idea that the text is almost like, in a sense, it can accommodate multiple things, is part of the mu'jiza of the text, because then you have so many perspectives about it, and that's the nature of the Quran, is that it's always like, you're always like, in a sense, trying to understand it. Obviously, it has its muhkam, which is its very clear verse which everybody understands, and it's mutashabi. It has its verses where you have multiple meanings. Allah mentions that in the Quran. But Allah mentions that the muhkam is the kitab. The foundation is clear, but there are going to be areas where you're going to struggle to understand. And that's the human endeavor, is to understand the Quran. I mean, the beautiful understanding for me is that if you look at thematic harmony of a surah, how does the surah end? It ends like a very famous verse. It ends with Ya ayyatuha nafsul mutma'inna irji'i ila rabbiki radiyatan mardiya fadkhuli fi ibadi wadkhuli jannati. What's that referring to? What's the nafsul mutma'inna? The person that passed away. It's a dua. It's a dua to make this person who passed away. Oh nafsul mutma'inna irji'i ila rabbiki. Return to your Lord. Radiyatan mardiya, pleased and pleasing. Fadkhuli fi ibadi. Enter into my slaves. Fadkhuli jannati, enter into my paradise. If you think about that being the end, then you think about this being the verses of Hajj. Hajj is basically a role play for death. Hajj is like a role play for death. It is the death that you can experience before your real death. Meaning what? Hajj is departure, death is departure. So you're departing from your home, your possessions, and death is departure. Hajj is also departure from status, your status, from your all your things around your house, car, your clothing, and just your basic garment, your death garment. And Hajj is also about equality. I think the only thing close to Hajj sometimes is the home affairs. Like That's a joke. I'm joking, no? But I'm just saying, like in our face, there's a certain equality about it. And then, but if you see, oh, anybody sits in a line, and you're all on that bench, my nasi come home face, this desk must pay, you must go there. It's like, that equality. It's like a strange thing, but no matter who you are in South Africa, you must come for your passport, you must come and you must sit there. You can be the biggest CEO, you must sit there. There's no shortcut. No, but that's a joke. So the point is that Hajj is that equality, and Hajj is also the meeting of people on a plane. And Hajj is also what? It's like a rebirth. It's like a return. Irji'i ila rabbiki. What is Hajj? Irji'i ila rabbik. Return to your Lord. So the whole idea of Hajj is actually a return to Allah Ta'ala and a rebirth and a reconnection, which is the same as the end of the surah. So once you have a harmonious reading and you start putting the harmony together, it then will also guide what you give preference to in your tafsir as well. Because you're using the harmony of the surah as one of the evidences for your choice on the mutashabih. You with me? So this is one of the beauties of the surah, which is like, it's actually the Hajj surah. And if you think about the Hajj, that is it. Fadkhuli fi ibadi. What is Hajj? Hajj is entering with the slaves. It literally means entering with the slaves. So Hajj is a mass slaves coming together. Fadkhuli fi ibadi wadkhuli jannati, and that is the path to paradise. So in that sense, the Hajj is very clear in the surah. Therefore, to answer your question, I don't know if that was a question, but that's a question in terms of like preference and strength and so on. A contextual reading for me always resonates more than just saying like this salah and this Hajj, and like it can jump. Although the other thing that did stand out to me is that one opinion actually is, well, Watr refers to Allah and Shafi refers to creation, which I find interesting because Allah is Al-Watr, Allah is one. And Washaf can mean two things. Means what? Allah creates in pairs. There's duality in creation. Everything's making the zawj in a pair. But Washafi also means the second of the first. Meaning what? That Allah is the first independent and creation is the second contingent. You with me? It's the second of the one. The one is Allah independent by himself, the king, the creator. And the Shafi is the second, which is dependent contingent, and therefore created manifest. So from an Aqidah point of view, that like appeals to me beautifully because that's on a different level now of understanding it. And therefore that's the beauty of the Quran. You can understand that and the Hajj thing together because it holds such a plenitude of meanings within the surah. And different things will apply to different times, basically. Because one of the markers of a good text is to say a lot of things in the little words. Naam. Jami'ul Bayan. Wallayli idha yasr. Wallayli, and by the night idha yasr. What is yasr? Yasr means like to move. You would know the word Isra. Isra means a journey at night. So Yasr is when the night has traveled. Yasr means what? You are deep into the night. Meaning what? The night has traveled now and you are moved into the night and you're almost coming maybe to the end of the night. Like the last part of the night. And it mentions here, it says here, لأنه وقت تمكن ظلمة الليل. It's the part of the night. This is tafsir, not the hadith. But the tafsir, in other words, it's a time when the night has become well established. فحينئذ يكون الناس أخذوا حظهم من النوم. And at this time, people have already taken a good portion of sleep. فاستطاعوا تهجد. And it's the time of the night when tahajjud is possible. Meaning what? The night has traveled and you have stepped out from Isha. Now you're on Walayli da Yasr, you're at 3-4 o'clock. Meaning what? Now you can take your hadh of tahajjud. You can take your portion of tahajjud. No. So this is that part of the night. Now again, are you going to understand that layl to be ahad or jins? If you refer to it as ahad, ta'riful ahad, what do you understand by it? There's jins first. If you understand to be wal layli ta'riful jins, what do you understand to be? The night in general, the concept of night. Also an oath by the concept of night, either yasr, when it has a good portion has passed and the night has become established. If you say ta'riful ahad, what you're going to say? It's a specific night. And then the most popular opinion is going to be, it's going to be the 10th night, which is the night before the 10th day, the night of Arafah Muzdalifah. And also that night is a night actually which they say actually, like from the human experience, it travels fast. It's a night which from your experience, meaning what if you actually do it, because what when you leave Arafah, you leave at Maghrib time, so you're traveling in the night. And then most times also the Shafis especially leave half the night, leave Muzdalifah. But the night's almost like a night of like, it goes by quickly. It's not a night where you like have lots of rest and peace, and it's a night that yesterday travels fast as well. So also that's an indication. هل في ذلك قسم لذي حجر. So all of this can be linked to Hajj. So what do you see here? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, either 4 or 5. Depending on how you take the other one, you say 5 oaths. Wal Fajr, wal Layalin Ashr, wal Shaf'i, wal Watr, wal Layli Idha Yasr. If you make the one wa ataf, it becomes 4, but you say 4 or 5. Also second, an oath on a number of things. You can't, the point of an oath is not, that's not the point, but the main part of an oath is what? The thing you take an oath by, or the thing you take an oath for. For the second part. So we must still find the second part. The second part can't be a question. You can't say, Wallahi, did you do your homework? You don't make an oath like that, like an oath for a question. You make an oath for a statement, like a verily indeed. So in other words, we haven't come to the second part of the oath yet. The second part of the oath is called the muqsamu, al-muqsamu alayh. The muqsamu B is what taken oath by, the muqsamu alayh is coming. So it's coming. You're going to struggle to find it, but we're going to find it inshallah. Hal fi, Allah first asking a question. Hal fi dhalika, hal is there fi dhalika, in that I just mentioned, that oaths. Is there qasamun? Is there an oath? Nakira, why? For ta'zim also. Is there a great oath? Li, for the possessor of Hijr. What does Hijr mean? Okay, that's the eventual meaning. What's the original meaning mean? Hajra means what? To stop, to limit. You find in Quranic language, intelligence is almost always linked to stopping or limiting. When you think of the word aql, aqla means to restrain. Aqla means to restrain. Like the Iqbal you spoke about in the camel tying up. Then you speak about ulun nuha. Nuha, the possessor of deep intellect, but nuha comes from nahi. Nahi means to prevent. Like a nahi, verb, nafi nahi means to prevent. Hajra also means to prevent. So in Islamic language, in Quranic language, intelligent people have the ability to prevent. Prevent what? Prevent their nafs from overwhelming their thought. Their worldly desires, their passions, their biases. They have the ability to prevent. If you have the ability to prevent that, you are called intelligent. Therefore, in the hadith, al-qayyisu man dana nafsahu wa amila lima ba'da al-maut. When the Prophet defines intelligence, he says, intelligent one is man dana nafsahu. Is the one that's able to prevent his nafs, limit his nafs, wa amila lima ba'da al-maut, and to act for that which comes after death. So in Islam, intelligence is not a lot of facts or lots of information. Intelligence is the ability to curb your base desire, your passions, your emotions, your biases, and to think clearly. هل في ذلك قسم? Is there in that there's a qasam? لذي حجر, for the possessor of understanding. The possessor was able to limit their passions. And it's quite interesting. Why? Because those oaths are about the days of limiting your passions. Meaning what? What are those 10 days about? You enter Makkah, you come in with your ihram, you make your umrah, you go into ihram, you come into Mina, Arafah. It's not the day of passions. It's the opposite, the day of sabr, the day of limiting your passions, the day of shedding all your worldly. Why? Because that's the meaning of returning to Allah Ta'ala. This is a Makki audience. What are the Makki audience doing? They are allowing their worldly passions to override the da'wah of Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. The best of creation are saying before them, but what are they scared about? They're scared about position and power and wealth and influence and all of those worldly things. They don't have hijr. And this story is telling them, this ayah is telling them about, can't you see that this is the messenger is calling you? And then therefore Allah says, Alam tara, to you Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, as come to Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. They can't see, but can you see? And your believers see, because they can't see. And they can't see because they don't have hijr. They don't have the conquest of their passions. Alam tara kayfa fa'ala rabbuka bi'ad. Did you not see what, did you Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam not see how, what Allah did with the people of Ad, Iram dhatil imad. Iram can refer to a place or person, but this is the place that possessed imad. I'll do more detail afterwards. Columns, allati, columns or big columns, allati, that which lam yukhlaq mithluha fil bilad. Those people that were not created, the like of them, those are very big and great. Fil bilad, wa thamud, in the cities, wa thamud alladhina jabu as-sakhra bil wad, and Thamud that cut out and carved sakhr, big rocks in the valley, wa fir'auna dhil awtad, and Fir'aun who possessed stakes, alladhina taghaw fil bilad, the one that made tughyan, that transgressed in the lands, فأكثروا فيها الفساد, and they had an abundant amount of corruption, waiting for what? The muqsamu alayh, the muqsamu alayh. فَصَبَّ عَلَيْهِمْ رَبُّكَ سَوْطَ عَذَابٍ, and then Allah poured upon them the whip of punishment. إِنَّ رَبَّكَ لَبِالْمِرْصَادِ, indeed your Lord is certainly mirsad, like lying in wait, lying in ambush, ready to take action against it. So I will go through all of it in detail in the next lesson. The point I want to make is that when Allah takes an oath, then in those 4 verses, then Allah asks a question. The question is just like a prompting, making you think and so on. Then Allah speaks about 4 people. Allah speaks about Ad and Thamud, or 3 people actually, and Fir'aun. Why? Ad and Thamud are familiar to the Arabs. This is in like the northern Arabia, Sham area. You find the ruins there. They know about Ad and Thamud. And Fir'aun is familiar to who? To the Arabs of the Ahlul Kitab. The Christian and Jews know about Fir'aun because they know about Musa alayhi salam. So Allah mentions these 3 nations. So where is the muqsamu alayh? Some of the ulama say that this whole part about Ad and Thamud and Fir'aun is a muqaddimah for the muqsamu alayhi, and the muqsamu alayhi is inna rabbaka labil mirsad. That verily Allah is lying in wait for those who, mirsad means like lying in ambush, lying in wait, ready to take action against those who transgress. Some of the ulama say no, that the muqsamu alayhi is not spelled out there, but it's implied. Meaning what? The story of these 3 nations, the muqsamu alayhi is, verily Allah will make you experience the punishment that, like Allah made them experience the punishment. Allah is able to make you experience total adhab, like Allah made you experience that. Meaning what? Either this next part is the implied muqsamu alayhi, or it is the muqaddimah of the muqsamu alayhi, which is inna rabbaka labil mirsad. Muqaddimah, introduction. It's an introduction, and the point being, what is the retribution of Allah Ta'ala? Inna rabbaka labil mirsad, which is the actual muqsamu alayhi. So either it's the actual implied one or it is the muqaddimah of